Hello, patrons! How's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you, Margaret and Rolf. Oh, and I can see a weird delayed version of myself on my screen. I need to sort that out because that's going to distract me. But I hope you're all well. It's great to be back. It's great to be back in the Beehive. It's great to be back being productive in here. I've had a busy day, a very fun day, speaking to a few patrons, doing my Skype sessions today, and I also did an afternoon live streaming session that I think one person, that's one, not one, person signed into. So we'll see if that's still going to be a thing. The 3 p.m. seems to be not too popular today, but I'll see if it's still going to be in demand. And I also added the finishing touches to a trip to the moon, otherwise known as a trip to the Moonlight Sonata. So I've told you about this before, and some of you have seen me do this live as well. But I took a demo I had of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, all three movements, which is set to Melière's A Trip to the Moon. So this time Melière does not meet Debussy. This time Melière meets Beethoven. And the three movements work remarkably well because there's kind of three sections to the Melière movie. There's them coming up with the idea of building the rocket and planning it all out, and then building the projectile, should I say? And then there's the launch or the firing because it's shot from a big cannon, and then there's adventures on the moon. And I finished all of that today, and you can see a bit of a making of video. It's not as complete as the previous ones because, as I say, this was from a demo that I had of A Trip to the Moon, of A Trip to the Moonlight Sonata. So I did all of the backing track actually on an old laptop, so it was done a while ago. But I edited the guitars so it sounded less demo-y, and I've put it all together. And literally, the video finished. What do you call it? Or whatever, finalizing or whatever it is. It takes forever. It takes like 15 minutes to put it all together at the end when you finish the video project. But anyway, it finished literally 5 minutes before I started this broadcast. So literally, it's hot off the press. I've not even watched the finalized version, and I was thinking we could watch it together. So that's what I've been doing all day. And here I am, and it's great to see so many of you. So we've got, just looking at the chat page, we've got, hi Rolf, hi Margaret, hi Kathy, great to see you. Suhuski, fantastic to see you. And Caroline, great to see you too. So, yeah, fantastic to see so many people in here, and looking forward to sharing this with you. As I say, if you've not seen the making of this trip to the Moonlight Sonata, it's on the Patreon page now, and you can go and check that out. I was just checking all was well with the stream. We look to be getting it. Okay, so we've got some questions coming in. Caroline was casting on TV. Wow, that sounds exciting, Caroline. What were you casting for? Or are you not allowed to tell us? Would you have to kill us if you told us? Let us know. That sounds really exciting. So Margaret has a question. If I remember correctly, Carl's previous guitarist had to stop due to tinnitus, or tinnitus, as you call it in the States. When you took over, what process did you follow to learn the music? Did you listen to ELP's original stuff, or the previous ELP legacy stuff? Um, the uh, the answer to your question is a little bit of both. Mostly for the arrangements, I mostly listened to well, pretty much, yeah, mostly listened to what the previous guitarist had done because all of the recordings were there. So obviously, I knew Carl was happy with the way he was playing it, so I didn't want to just go in and say I'm completely changing the band because, as it was, I was joining a band which already had a guitarist and they'd already done all the arrangements at that time. So I didn't want to go in and just completely rearrange everything because that would have not gone down well. Um, but what I did is I transcribed exactly what he was playing, the guitarist was playing. If I couldn't, if it was difficult to hear what he was playing, I'd go back to the original recordings, so just to get the notes off there. But in terms of sounds, in terms of kind of synth sounds, all of that sort of thing, um, and using effects, I went to the original because I figured, well, he was approximating the sounds on the originals, so I should probably go to the originals to so I can make an approximation. Because any sound on guitar, or even when you're matching up two sounds, it's always going to be an approximation. So I figured it was probably closer going to the original than it was to approximate an approximation. It would have been kind of like a game of, I think you call it telephone in the US, but we call it Chinese whispers. When you whisper in somebody's ear, and then they whisper in somebody else's ear, and then they whisper in somebody else's ear, and what you get at the end of the chain is completely different. And I would imagine that might be how it would have turned out had I have done it, copied exactly what he'd done. So yeah, the answer is a bit of both, but in terms of the arrangement point of view, it had to follow what they were doing with the previous guitarist, because we had 2 days rehearsal and then we went on tour. So, I was basically walking into a band that already had these arrangements down, and I was just meant to step into the other guitarist's shoes. So that's a very thorough answer to a simple question. Margaret says, movie night in the Beehive sounds great. Fantastic. It's only about 15 minutes long, but we should do a proper movie night soon as well. I really want to see the version of Metropolis that Rolf sent to me. So we should do that as a movie night. And as many of you know, as I've told many of you, I've agreed to do I've been asked to do and agreed to do a silent movie evening in Falmouth, Massachusetts on the 28th of this month, on the 28th of July. So, the good news is I'm going to be performing an hour and a half of silent movie stuff. The bad news is, at the moment, I only have half an hour of material. But I said, sure, I can do it. Of course, because, fake it until you make it, as they say. So I've got a full month ahead of me, or should I say a full kind of 3 weeks ahead of me, of lots and lots of silent movie work. And I'm really looking forward to it. So I got A Trip to the Moon done today, and I shall be starting. That I was going to do was I was planning on writing some atonal lullabies for baby Zoe. Well, baby Zoe was born today! Yay! We've got some pictures and she looks fantastic. Incredible head of hair. So I really want to get those lullabies done. So I was thinking maybe I could marry the two up. I was talking about some Chopin nocturnes to go along with some Melier movies, but I wondered if maybe I could write some of these atonal lullabies to go along with Melier's movies. And Melier did a few movies which are known as the dream movies. and he did things like the Belly Dancer's Dream, the Arabian Prince's Dream, and the Egyptian's Dream, and it basically these guys, you know, it consists of somebody falling asleep, and then that was Mike. Mike the father just texted me. Somebody falling asleep, and then having a dream, and all of this crazy thing happens in the same room as they fell asleep. And I thought maybe some of these lullabies could be these atonal lullabies could fit quite well. So I'm gonna have a look at writing some of those. Nothing set in stone yet, but that's just an idea that I've had today. Seeing as Zoe was born today, so I'm going to be looking at those tomorrow. I'm going to check out some more of these questions. Sue Husky says she likes my shirt. Thank you very much. The perks of being in a band that has merchandise, I get free shirts, so free clothes. Okay. I'm going back to a previous question. Just casting your stream on our big TV. I see, Caroline. I thought you had like a casting role. Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's exciting, but not quite as exciting as I hoped. But I might have secrets soon. Oh, that sounds great. I'll look forward to the secrets. What else are people saying? Margaret's saying movie night. Let's do a movie night soon. Absolutely, I completely agree. Hi, Mark. Good to see you here. Great to have you here. It was great to see you in New York as well. All right. There goes my TV career. Never give up. So this movie. Let's have a watch of this movie, shall we? So the movie we're going to watch is A Trip to the Moon, which is Méliere's masterpiece, and this is probably his most famous piece, and it's 1902, which is absolutely astounding. When you have a look at, well, not only what anybody else had ever done at that point, but even what he had done at that point. The previous year was The Man with the Rubber Head, and The Man with the Rubber Head was absolutely breakthrough from a kind of special effects point of view. The fact that he in just a few very short years, maybe like one year, maybe even in the course of about a year, he'd gone from simple card tricks and simple kind of stage magic to editing and starting to edit film and starting to do things in film that weren't possible through simple editing, through simple, cutting the film and splicing it together gluing it together with another piece of film, and all of a sudden something magically appears or whatever. It started this process, and it started with kind of time and explosions around things appearing and things like that. And with The Man with the Rubber Heads, he started to use two sets of film at once. He constructed a contraption to make his head grow on the screen, because I explained the way he did it. In fact, do you know what? Let's have a watch, just in case anybody missed it. Let's watch that explanation of how he did The Man with the Rubber Head. This movie, remember, is 1901, which is just unbelievable if you compare it to anything else that was going on. So this is how he did The Man with the Rubber Head.
In 1901, Méliès produced The Man with the Rubber Head, using black backgrounds and double takes on the same film. In the first take, Méliès moves forward on the dolly. His head, seen against the black background, seems to get bigger. In the second take, only the scenery around the background and Méliès himself blowing up his own head is caught on the film, and this is the result when the two takes are combined.
So there you go. You know, just the fact that he did that in 1901 is astounding. Compared to anything else going on, it's such a huge leap forward. And 1902 came along, and he did his trip to the moon, which was, if the Man with the Rubber Head was a huge leap forward, a trip to the moon was literally on another planet, on another satellite. Anyway, Margaret's just asked, would you synchronize a longer movie? Absolutely, yes. I'm definitely working towards that. I started Nosferatu, and I'm definitely working towards that. The Méliès stuff, I feel like it's definitely a lot more manageable because, you know, the longest I've tackled so far is 15 minutes, and 15 minutes of music. Well, when it's set to other people's music as well, it works really well. Very easy to manage. The fact that I'm able to, you know, explore other people's music along with Méliès films makes for an interesting concept. You know, this imaginary collaboration between the two, between the director and the composer. But yeah, absolutely, that's definitely something that I'll look at doing. Is a longer movie. So yes, so 1902 came along, a year after The Man with the Rubber Head, and we got a film that was a story. So Méliès had taken all of these. I mean, because The Man with the Rubber Head, it's not a story; it's just a special effect. It's just a trick. But A Trip to the Moon is a story. It's based on the Jules Verne novel From the Earth to the Moon, which I recently read, and it mirrors it very, very closely. So in the Jules Verne book, it's not a rocket; it's a projectile shot from a giant cannon in the carved into the earth, dug into the earth. So you've got, it basically follows that plot. In the Jules Verne model, they don't actually make it to the moon, but Méliès wanted them to have a bit of an adventure on the moon, so he got the projectile to land on the edge of a cliff. So conveniently, when they wanted to return to Earth, all they needed to do was push it off the cliff, and it fell to Earth. A bit of artistic license, but that's all about what Méliès did. You know, his movies were art movies, really. And so yeah, it really follows it very closely. But the fact, as I say, the fact that this was no longer just kind of this novelty show, Méliès was telling a story. It was like a play on the screen, with actors acting out a play with no sound, which, you know, is one of the. This is 1902. This had to be perhaps the first instance of that. It's certainly one of the first instances of that. And he was combining this acting, this, you know, telling a story, and it tells a story very, very well. There's no speech cards. You don't need speech cards. You can tell what's going on. And he combines all of that with marvelous special effects. There's explosions. There's tape editing. There's you know, there's fantastic backdrops. There's all sorts of things that are just incredible for the time, and it's in color, which meant it was doing a color version of a film like this. You couldn't reproduce the color. It meant that every single roll of film, every single copy of this movie, and every single cell had to be hand coloured, which is an astounding undertaking. I mean, just imagine the work that's gone into colourising this film. The version that I've used has actually been restored. You can see some of the original colour, but they've where the colour was missing, or where they've used a black and white print, because not all versions of this were in colour. They didn't colorise some and used a black and white print. So you can see you can see where the colour kind of flips in and out. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to give you A Trip to the Moon meets Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. A Trip to the Moonlight Sonata. All right, here we go. Enjoy, guys. freezing quite badly. Are we okay to continue this, or do we want to continue with this? that's absolutely right. There's 2 guitars recorded for the demo, and I combined them to multi-track, and at the end you'll hear one guitar soloed, the next guitar solo for kind of a question and answer thing. It's coming up now. All right, there you go. Sorry about the freezing. That was quite annoying. The action does sync up to it very closely. I understand why it freezes like this. Just basically, this is the layout that I've got all of the movies loaded in, which is why I could show you the Man with the Rubber Head. But I've got the Man with the Rubber Head in here. I've got the Eclipse. I've got the Man with the Rubber Head intro, and I've also got A Trip to the Moon loaded in, and they're all in my computer's memory. So it stored them in the computer's memory. So I just need to get rid of them from this kind of package of scenes, and then I'll be able to play one of them. Okay. Lesson learned, hey? You live and learn. So there you go. Pardon me. That was A Trip to the Moonlight Sonata. So I am going to, this evening, I'm going to put on the live stream. The live stream. I'm going to put on the a streaming version. I'll put it on YouTube so you can stream a version of that. And for anyone who gets the downloads, I'll be sending out the downloads tonight as well, depending on how long they take to upload. But I shall be certainly uploading them tonight. And I'm going to give you that video to download, and I'm also going to give you the 3 tracks of audio, so movement 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, Rolf, you were asking about the guitars, and I mentioned it in the earlier video that I posted. So check out that for a more thorough explanation of this. But as I'm sure you know, but some people might not have come across it, it's a very common thing to multi-track and double-track a guitar or double-track vocals. The Beatles did it. Greg Lake did it all the time for vocals. John Lennon's vocals, that kind of eerie, dreamy type vocal. That's it. That John Lennon used to have, like Strawberry Fields and all of that. That's all because it's double-tracked, because it's 2 of him singing exactly the same thing at the same time, so he's kind of singing in unison with himself. And it's the same with guitars. So with that, A Trip to the Moonlight, I did the whole thing from start to finish, just one take, and did that a number of times. I can't remember, it's a while ago, it's over a year since I've recorded that. I did it a number of times, and I just took 2 of the takes and just put them together. Uh, but in those bits where I was pointing out and looking like the guy off the sort of airplane, thanks for that, Margaret, where I was pointing out the different guitars playing at question and answer things. At those points are where you kind of get the hit, and then the guitar that goes free time, and you kind of, you're very relaxed. It's the cadenza bit, and it's out of time. It's not meant to be in a strict tempo with the rest of the song. At those points, obviously, if I did that with two guitars that are just cadenza in out of tempo free time, it sounds like a real mess, because you've just got two guitars not playing with any reference to any tempo. So what I did there is I took guitar 1, let it do a phrase, took guitar 2, let it do a phrase in answer, so you kind of got that question and answer thing. And then when they're back in time, they're both back in, and I thought it worked quite well for having the main track beefed up, sounding really beefy, and the double track guitar sound. And then when it wasn't possible to do that, it was a nice contrast just to have one guitar doing one thing and then another guitar doing another. So there you go. So that's a trip to the Moonlight Sonata. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. As I say, this month is going to be mainly me doing Melier stuff and lots of silent movie stuff. So you're going to see a whole lot of this stuff this month. So I'll get this download done tonight, and I'll get the stream up tonight. All right. Any more questions? Let me know. I'm just going to read a few. Emerson even did the double track with the honky tonk sound. Honky tonk sound, maybe. Yeah. Some artists use it as a layering effect so much, though, it's difficult for them to match the sound in performance. That's very true. That is very true. There's all sorts of vocal processors and guitar processors you can get. You can get, as I mentioned in the video, you can do the same thing with a delay pedal. So if you put a slight delay, like a slapback delay or echo on your guitar, then it appears like there's two guitarists playing. Only thing with that is they're consistently the same distance apart, so it doesn't quite have the same kind of chaotic. I don't know. The same full effect. It doesn't sound quite as organic, but it's a good approximation for live. So I collaborated with myself and two dead guys. Yes, a 1 year younger version of myself, and two dead guys. Who's two dead guys? Melier and Beethoven, of course. Don't. Did I mention that I had a solo show on July the 8th? It's July the 28th. Yes, July the 28th, and it is in Falmouth, Massachusetts. And it's at a gallery on the main street of Falmouth, Massachusetts. Tickets aren't out yet, but I have been told by the owner of the gallery, because I've said that I might have some people wanting to go, that if I pass on his number to you or to anybody who's interested in getting tickets, then he will reserve some tickets. So I can give out his number to anybody who wants to book that. So yeah, it should be a good one. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's going to be, the thing that it's the catalyst to get so much done this month. So fingers crossed. In fact, what am I doing here live streaming? I should be working on new silent movies. Round Hay Garden, 1888 is the first official movie that remains. It's 2.1 seconds long. It might not give you enough material to add to the show. I like it though. Have you heard of a band called Napalm Death? They were famous for doing like 2-second songs, which was mostly just intense screaming and intense on guitar. So maybe I could do like a Napalm Death cover to Round Hay Garden. Or maybe not. Oh yes, it might as well be on the actual moon. I know. Well, I mean, if you're so far away, don't worry about it. There will definitely be more of these. I'm not just putting an hour and a half of material together just to do one show. So there will definitely be more of these. In 1878 is the horse galloping one. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. The horse galloping. That was the piece of film that they made to try to establish if a horse is, when it was galloping, it ever leaves the ground, and they nobody knew because nobody could see it, observe it fast enough. But they found through the use of technology that it did actually. All four hooves did leave the ground at some point. So that was that little riddle or little conundrum was solved through the use of photography. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks a lot, guys. I don't think I've got anything more to say. So let's leave it here. As I say, I'm going to upload those videos now. So you can expect them within the hour, depending on how fast my internet speed is. And the downloads may take a little longer because for whatever reason my uploading to Hightail, who I use for the downloads, does tend to take a little longer. So anybody who have signed up for the downloads, then they'll be with you certainly by the end of the night anyway. And if you're going to go to bed, by tomorrow morning. All right, guys. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks for everyone who joined us. Really appreciate it. And again, thanks so much for all your support and being my patrons and following me on this wonderful adventure that we're taking together. Thanks a lot, patrons. I'll see you soon. Bye.